All right, a few minutes on Major League Baseball today. We got to talk Guardians baseball today. You ready for that, Tom?
The team formerly known as the Indians.
So you're going Prince on that. That's cool. That's not a bad idea. We can go Prince on that. Team formerly known as the Cleveland Indians. That's not really what I want to talk about. I just want to give Tom a little bit of see if he's excited about his Guardians. Let's see. The spring training has been delayed till March 5th. That's kind of a big news.
Yourself, y'all.
That kind of not. We'll see what happens with that. Now, here's the thing that I wanted to get into for a few minutes and get your thoughts. I know you two. I don't know if you two care how y'all feel since y'all are American League fans, but the designated hitter is now in the National League, and baseball is becoming more and more. I think they should have less people on the roster and more people that pitch and play defense like Shohei Ohtani. And instead of we got a closer, now that guy's in the Hall of Fame. Now we got a setup man, now that guy's in the Hall of Fame. Then we got a long reliever, now that guy's in the Hall of Fame. Now we got a DH, that guy. Every position needs Hall of Famers now. We keep making positions and giving people positions. It drives me crazy that people think that David Ortiz is just as good as a baseball player. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and Barry Bonds isn't.
I went back, and I'm glad you brought all this up, because I went back and we come out with the 100 best Major League Baseball players of all time.
Was you not here when we discussed that? We talked about like a week or two ago.
Might have been.
Was that the week where you were gone?
Might have been.
Okay, we did. So you go ahead. Say what you want to say.
Yeah,
you're 100% fine.
But here's my deal. When you take 5, 6, 7% of the top 100 Major League Baseball players of all time, and none of them are in the Hall of Fame, I think Major League Baseball is making it a disgrace. Because I find it hard to believe that and as we speak, a Pete Rose, a Roger Clemens, a Barry Bonds, and we could keep naming players who are not part of the Hall of Fame, but you are top 100 of the Major League Baseball players of all time. And, and people set back. I don't think we've ever got to 20,000 yet players of all time yet. That's coming up. If it didn't happen last year, I don't think we've got to 20,000 that have ever played the game anyway.
Yeah.
All time. So, when you take the top 100 and then you have to eliminate some of those because we don't think they should be in the Hall of Fame, I think baseball should shut down. And I'm going to continue to say this, shut down the Hall of Fame because it's not worth going to. I'm not going if your number one hitter's not in there, if your number one home run hitter's not in there. I mean, I'm just not going to it to see it.
I think there was somebody interviewed the other day, one of these players, and they were like, they were complaining about that they know players in the Hall of Fame. Might have been it wasn't Canseco. He of course he said it all the time as far as you've got people in there already that are already users that we all know, and I think it was the article I was read was even defending how McGuire and them whatever they did wasn't against the rules in the game at the time that you could buy it at GNC. So they would go to GNC and buy these it was all these powders, creatine, whatever you're taking, and then but the other ones that the Bonds and the Ortiz, the arguments was they were going to labs and getting whatever kind of this wasn't over the counter basically. So that was the issues with those. But again, where do you draw the line? We've talked about that. Tell you that list I brought it up on the screen for you to look at. This of course I brought it up because of this. They had Mike Trout at 15th best player of all time. They barely had King Griffey Jr. ahead of him at this time. So I put, Trout's played 11 years. So I put up his 11 years versus Pujols' 11 years in St. Louis. Do you know where they had Pujols on the list? 30. They had Derek Jeter and A-Rod ahead of Pujols.
Yeah, they were ahead of him.
They had Pujols at 30. Now look at these numbers. Now when I say, I want y'all to say the name or say count for me these numbers. Who's better? These is just straight up same number of years. Trout 305, Pujols 328. Pujols 445 home runs, Trout 310. 130 more. Look at the RBIs, almost double, 1,300 to 800. The doubles are almost doubled as well, 268 to 455. There's 4. Hits, 600 more hits. That's 5. Runs, 300 more runs. How about strikeouts? Mike Trout, the only thing he beats Pujols in, he struck out 500 more times than Albert Pujols did in the same number of years. 500. Slugging percentage, Pujols. Walks, that's Mike Trout's best stat. Still Pujols. Gold Gloves, 2 for Albert Pujols, none for Trout, 2 World Series. What in that, Terry, tells me that he is better than Albert Pujols?
Nothing. If you throw it up or not have names beside them, everybody that's in the room is going to go with the bottom instead of your top.
Even the WAR that they make an argument about, Albert has more WAR than him at this point. Even their favorite number WAR. So those lists are just absolutely insane and stupid. Now, the Hall of Fame, who do you think should be? Do you think we should change whose votes for the Hall of Fame? Because right now it's the writers. Do you take it away from them and give it to the organizations and the players? And how do you, or how do you do that?
I think you just said it right there. I think the players should have some input. They would know. Former managers, they would know. People who know something about baseball.
What if only major league players of 5 years of service or 10 years of service get to vote?
Like
you get 10 years of service, you get a Hall of Fame vote.
Because you hear about players who played on the field with other players, even ones they didn't like. There was that respect because they know the ability more than others.
Okay, so right. So should Jeff Kent get a vote as opposed to Bob Costas?
I would say yes.
And that's my argument. A lot of these athletes argue. A lot of times that we played, we know who should be in the Hall of Fame.
Who did Bob Costas play for?
Nobody.
Well, exactly my point, right? Who did Bob Costas play for? I can't remember. What was his batting average?
Yeah,
I can't remember. That's what I'm talking about, Kevin. I mean, these little nerdy guys that got their journalism degree. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I'm kind of the guy on the radio who didn't really play a whole lot. That's fine, but I'm not here telling you who the best of all time was. Well, like a lot of these guys that have never, I mean, they look like they could read a book or push a pencil, but they don't look like they could play a game.
Well, so, tell me this. I know there's a lot of sports writers and stuff like this who vote, but could it be one of those situations like you're not going to get 100% if somebody from Los Angeles forgot to turn his in? Had to have him in by this date, and he didn't turn his in. So, well, guess what? You're not 100% today.
It's kind of dumb.
I don't.
A lot of things they do is just dumb.
So Tom, I was kind of leading in before you got to sit down and talking about this. The DH is now coming to the National League, and I'm not a fan of it.
I am. I disagree with you. I think that you're kind of like a staunchly purist on this, and I've told you numerous times nobody pays to see a pitcher hit.
Right, but you again, and you see it a little differently in that. My end is I pay to see Shohei Ohtani hit. I would rather have 20
one guy.
I don't know. Wait a minute. Almost
Madison
all these
Bumgarner.
Almost all
two
these
guys.
Tom, almost all these
we
pitchers.
start naming now.
Almost all of these pitchers, true or false, were most likely one of the best 2 hitters on their high school team.
Okay.
Again,
Keyword, high school.
I know. But Tom, they don't just stop being good hitters because they're not good hitters. They stop being good hitters because they never swing again. So what I'm saying is this: I would rather see the game shift to more of smaller roster and more players like Ohtani, so we have less closers, less relievers. Why do we need 13 relievers in a 9-inning ball game? That's what's on the roster. They don't have to use them. They never do. But why do we need that? So my point is, I would rather see smaller rosters and more players that can do more things. The people like David Ortiz, I don't even think he should be in the game. If you can't play defense, you're not a baseball player. What are you? I don't get it. There's no other sport. You got the kickers, I guess, but they at least get hit. Yeah, sometimes. But the DH just blows my mind that a DH can get in the Hall of Fame, and then the other guys, like Terry says, the Pete Roses, the Barry Bonds, they actually play a sport, they play the game that they're not in.
You know what's weird about Ortiz? He hit 54 home runs in 2006, and then never hit more than 40 again. The next highest total was 38, and he hit that in his last year. That's weird, isn't it, Terry? I mean, that's just weird.
I got a weird one for you. How many times has Barry Bonds hit 50 home runs?
Probably 6.
Once.
Only once?
The year he hit 73.
Really?
Never hit 50 again.
I would have thought he did it 5 or 6
Nope.
times.
Nope.
Home runs he did.
Nope.
Well, maybe over 40 times. How many times? He hit?
Now, he did that a few
Oh, he
times.
did
Yeah,
that.
maybe that's what I'm. But in my brain, but it seemed. Yeah,
But again, that's our argument about why he wasn't a home run hitter is because that's not what he wasn't banging 50 like McGuire and Griffey were. Griffey and McGuire the year before hit 55 and 56.
yeah,
Bonds didn't do that ever. And then all of a sudden, 73.
yeah. Wow.
He jumped from 46 to 73 and back to 40. I think it was 48 or 49 the year next year. But he not twice did he hit
Out
50.
of ball contact, man.
It's weird. That's weird.
He
Got
was
really
just
good that one year, huh?
He got way more focused.
Yeah, it was unbelievable watching it. Yeah, it was. But the DA, the DA, as far as I'm concerned, you're okay, Tom. Nobody pays to come watch that. But you've got name more than 1 or 2 DHs that someone has ever come to pay to watch. Like Ortiz. Has anybody ever paid to come watch Edgar Martinez?
Sure. I
Right.
liked Eddie
he was,
Martinez.
He was always, the 5th best player on his team?
But you liked
But
him.
I'm just saying, your point about that
He's
is
a good guy.
But
Kinda fun
again,
sometimes.
I just like to see more players in that. The DH, I have a thing of you not playing the game and just walking up there and hitting, and then for me just someone who played shortstop. If you tell me the fat guy over there, the only reason he's good is because he's heavy enough when he hits the ball, it goes further than I do. That he's a better baseball player than I am.
Yeah, I know.
You
You're
understand
talking,
what I'm saying?
Completely. Yeah,
Like Omar Vizquel should be in the Hall of Fame before David Ortiz, in my opinion.
because he was how many Gold Gloves did that guy
Real
win?
baseball
Yeah,
player.
he's a real baseball. I mean,
I think he was one of the, how many are there? Like 6 guys that have had been a DH more than they have playing the field.
Yeah. See,
that have made it.
I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying about the Hall of Fame. If you're a DH, you shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I 100% agree. Because
Why?
you should, if you're going to be in the Hall of Fame, you should have played a position because you're a complete baseball player.
But I am the best at what I do.
I
Do
agree with Kevin.
you want kickers and
I don't-
punters? Do you want kickers and punters in the Hall of Fame?
There's a
And how many? I know there's
One
1 or 2,
punter.
but how
That's
many?
what I'm saying.
That's
Should
my
a punter
argument.
be
How
in the
many?
Hall of Fame? No. A
Yes.
field goal kicker? Maybe.
Yes. Why should
Not
a
a
punter
punter.
not be in? I think every position.
Terry, I was a punter.
Deserves
long
I was a
snappers.
punter.
Long
No.
snappers.
I think
Long
every
snappers, no.
position needs one that's in the
Well,
Hall of Fame.
isn't that nice? Does everybody get a piece of candy too when they come to the Hall of
Why
Fame?
would you have the NFL
Terry, that's
Hall
insane.
of Fame if you don't have a punter
Okay.
in it?
Because they're
another-
not that important.
All right, Terry. With
They're
that,
taking
guy,
it out of the game. People are going for it. On
does
fourth
that
down.
then disqualify Romo as a Hall of Fame kick holder? So you got a better chance of getting as a quarterback or a kick holder. You want every position in, I'm guessing quarterbacking, right?
Well, it'd be the quarterback.
Well, who's the
for
greatest
him.
kick? Who's the greatest kick
Yeah.
holder of all time?
I mean,
That's how I feel about David Ortiz. He's a kick holder.
Name me another great punter besides Ray Guy, Terry.
George Blanda.
George Blanda.
Yeah,
He was a quarterback, Terry.
yeah. He's also
He
a punter.
he punted on
I-
the side.
I can't believe
that
you
was
didn't
his
say-
side hustle.
He set
that
you
was
up.
his radio gig.
He set you up to answer Danny White, and you didn't say it.
Both those
You
guys.
had Danny White right there, Terry.
Oh, I had no Danny White on my list.
You had
it is
Danny
the
White
most-
right there.
So sometimes it's like I think Terry's sobering up, and then he'll say
Mm.
something so dumb.
No, that's not dumb.
Yes,
But-
it is
No.
dumb for a punter to be in the Hall of Fame is dumb.
No,
So
Dumb.
So one thing is so as American, you're right, Tom. So you'd rather see a DH hit than the pitcher. So one consequence that is of that's why you do have the more relief pitchers because you don't have guys in the National League. Everybody on that bench might hit today or play today. In the American League, that doesn't happen. And then let's get another closer. Let's get another long reliever. Let's get another pitcher. Let's do this.
And they're all throwing. See, what's hurting baseball too is they're all throwing so hard and chunky. I mean, it's harder to score. I don't know what's the average runs. I'd be interested to see what the average runs in a major league game. Have
they mess
done.
with the ball. and all
Probably
that
3 or
stuff,
4.
too.
Yeah,
That's what I would
I'd
say.
like to see their game. You know, they need a little bit more excitement in the major league
Not
game.
really.
I think
About
they do.
defense.
In 2021, the average
Don't
is
sell tickets, man.
All
Unless it's a great, outstanding play from your shortstop.
in 2021 the average is 4.47 runs,
There you go.
more than a run higher than it was in 1968.
Okay,
It's lower than the
Well, you're getting what you
465 or
want, Tom.
483 in 2019, but on par with 2018.
I guess it just seems
Of the
that
20 seasons from 2001, 13 were higher scoring than 2000.
because I guess because the kind of as football is taken over and it's a faster, and basketball, then you watch baseball, it just seems maybe they're not scoring as much.
So to me, baseball has taken the basketball approach. We're still scoring the same number of runs, but instead we're hitting home runs.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah,
it's the same number of runs, like in basketball. We're all shooting threes. We're all shooting. You don't got the same number of times, the same number of innings. We're all shooting threes. We're all scoring the same number of runs. But in baseball, we're hitting home runs and striking out and walking. And in basketball, we're jacking up threes every play and not playing defense. So it's the same score. So it's two totally different brands, and they're trying to sell you it is better, and they had to change it to different when the game was okay. Probably all of them in the 90s where they were.
So I guess
I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
Would you rather? I mean, Kevin can answer this too. Would you rather go to a baseball game and it lasts 2 hours and 45 minutes when I'm sitting here watching a pitcher almost throwing a perfect game? Or would you rather go watch a baseball game where the final score is 19-18, the pitcher don't give a darn where he throws it, they're hitting it out of the ballpark, and it takes 4.5 hours to 5 hours to finish the game? I'm not crazy. I want to see the guy that every pitch means something that he throws because he's getting ready to pitch a perfect game here.
Okay.
That's different. Perfect game is different from the.
Well, no, you're telling me you want to go watch the 19-18 game. It takes 5 hours to play.
No, I didn't say that.
That's what you're telling me.
I didn't say that. I said more. I didn't say ridiculous. That's like saying I want a little. It's like saying I want some salt on my burger, so you take the top off the salt shaker and dump it on. There's your salt. That's your analogy.
To a little extreme.
Yeah, it takes it to the extreme. I would like to see a little more, a little bit faster pace. It's just hard to do in baseball. It's just
okay.
It's hard to do.
So proposal. I know this is awful, but if you're going to play 162 games, and I don't like all the relief pitching, and how about take off the DH, 7 innings?
That wouldn't hurt my feelings.
That wouldn't hurt nothing.
Your starters would go longer. You wouldn't need as many relievers. Then you can use your bench for hitting in the late innings. You don't need the DH early on. If you want to take your pitcher out in the third, fourth inning, whatever. But I don't know. I like 9-inning baseball. I like it, but I don't like all these. I like seeing the starters late in the games. I really do. I like seeing the guys throwing getting the 7th, 8th, 9th inning and toughing it out.
The guy who started,
right?
Yes.
As opposed to we're going to pitch 4 or 5 now.
Kansas City won a championship because they had a set segment.
Now, again, if I got 12 pitchers and I'm a coach, I would almost rather go, you're going 3, then we'll do
Tampa Bay did
every
that.
game.
Tampa Bay
every
did
game.
That. Yeah, that's Tampa Bay did that.
Well, that's how Kansas City.
Then you keep
7th, 8th, and 9th.
You keep costs down.
Yeah, but everybody they call it a bullpen game. It's like when you got an issue with a starter or whatever. Okay, we're going to do a bullpen game. It seems
that's all. That's Tony Relusa's fault.
Yeah.
All right, JP, we got to take a quick break. Come back and we'll finish up. We'll get Terry's thoughts on the Super Bowl.